Oh, happy Thursday to you, Monday till Friday. I'd like to start with a prayer for my mother, whose birthday is today, Wednesday night. She's 77. I just pray that she has a happy day/week and is pain-free and enjoys my sister and my niece throughout the week. And I just hope that all our friends call her and make her feel like the most special girl in the world. We also pray for all our mothers and fathers. We thank them for their sacrifices and for raising us and doing everything that we take for granted, whether it's wash clothes, make food, have a job, and just play with us. So God bless our parents and our grandparents. And I also want to give special prayers for the kids that do not have parents, orphans and foster homes. We just pray that they find a steady Eddie adult in their life, whether it's grandparents or big brother, big sister, and they get the support and love that they need to feel loved as a kid and also to succeed as a young adult. And just God's blessings on all of them. And I also have to give all God's blessings to the Children's Hospital patients and families dealing with things they shouldn't be dealing with. So God bless everyone and pray for world peace. Amen. Okay, we're going to start on page 18. This is page 18 in your handout. Go ahead and get there. And talks about rental cars. And when I was a kid, 95 years ago, the rental cars you'd have the option of paying 10 cents per kilometer, or you'd pay like, I don't know, $25 for unlimited kilometers. And they were trying to get you because the 10 cents actually added up usually to more money for them. But I don't think you have that choice anymore. What I will tell you, two things. One, when I go on trips, and I've been to 26 countries, whenever I fly into some place, I always rent a car, because usually by the time you have a taxi cab from the airport to wherever you're going and back, that will pay for 2 or 3 days of renting a car. And I love the freedom of traveling somewhere and just driving anywhere I want to. So that'd be my advice. Second advice is that if you want to cut your rental car expense in half, get a gold credit card, and make sure it covers car rental insurance. And then you don't have to get it when you rent a car, which is doubles the price of renting a car. Some car rental places will insist that you get their insurance, and you can say, nope, we have a gold card and it's covered. So I've had that happen many times, and I've always just ended up paying half the price because my gold card covers the car rental insurance. Back to math. Okay, so they do the table of values, but they don't do a good job at all of telling you how they got it. But by now you probably should know. So here, t equals 100 plus 0, or 0.11 times 0. That's 100. And then this one is 100 plus 0.1 times 1,000. Punch that in your calculator. You get 200. Plot the graph, and you'll notice that some of our graphs start not at 0. And what does that mean? Steady star that guy. It means you have to pay $100 no matter what. Even if you don't drive anywhere, it's $100, or you do not get the keys. The n-intercept doesn't make sense because you have negative distance, so that's not a question I'm going to ask you. Interpolate just basically means use the graph. Or extrapolate means, I guess, use the graph, because you just have to extend the line out past the graph to extrapolate. Now, could happen too. But it just says estimate. It just means estimate. So it says right here, estimate 2,000 kilometers. Same thing we've done. Go to hit the graphs, go to the other axes is $300. Similar to the next one. Formula, I'm going to actually concentrate on the other formula. So using the graph for F, $650. I guess that's minimized to fit it on. Where's my $650? There it is. And that's right at the top. And that's about 5,500 kilometers. And if I was to use the formula for that, this is one where we have to solve instead of just plug in and calculate. So this one, our $650 is not our N, it goes in for T. And then we have to subtract $100. And then divide by 0.1. Or 0.10, same thing. And just punch that in your calculator. And you get the same answer you did when you estimated using the graph. All right. Bravo. I think we're going to skip the next question and go to the candle maker. Let's go to 100 and see what happens. So this is the bottom of page 19. And sorry about some of the small writing, but you can see this package is 50 pages, so I had to minimize some things. Okay, so the time is t equals 0. So that one equals -2 times 0 plus 12. That's how you get that one. This one is -2 times 1 plus 12. And so forth and so forth. Okay, so you plot those, straight line, as it should be. Remember, it's -2x basically plus 12. So that's going to give you a straight line. And now, what do the intercepts and some of these questions mean? I think I'm going to let you go ahead and check your answers here. And this one, completely burned out, means h equals 0. No height. It's gone. Just a bunch of wax. Red wax. Bleh. And I said you can also use the formula for that. So that's a pretty decent question. I would call those first few questions medium to easy. And there's a football question here. I'll let you take a peek at. And remember, sometimes there's two answers. You should be able to visualize this. Kicking a football off your foot. It's going straight up, reaches the height right here, and then hits the ground right here. Okay, so that's where it hits the ground. It takes 4, not hours, 4 seconds to hit the ground. Now, I'm not kicking it. Hulk's not kicking it. It's 4 seconds to hit the ground. Average high school punter. Yeah, maybe a bit more than that. Our punters are way better than that. If I asked you a question like, what's the height of 12 meters? Don't forget, there can be two answers, one on the way up and one on the way down. Okay, let's see where that question is. I assume it's there somewhere. It is not, but to be ready for it. Everything else is good. And let's go to number 9. I love it, on page 20. Last homework question. Maybe you can even get away with buck 25. There we go. So numerical response. If you don't know what the heck they're talking about, you know how to find x, y intercepts, so do that first. And you need to get square root of 9 equals positive -3. Pardon me, first I'll add 36 here to show their work. And then 4x squared, I haven't seen that, you just divide by 4, like you had 4x equals 36. You get 4x squared, still divide by 4. And instead of getting x equals 9, you get x squared equals 9, so now you square root it. This question might actually help you remember, it probably should help you remember positive negative, because it says there's 2 x-intercepts and there's 2 y-intercepts. What are they? Well, one's positive 3, one's negative 3, one's positive 2, one's negative 2. What do you have to do? You have to multiply them all together. Okay, A, B, C, D means A times B times C times D. Can you do that with a calculator? Yes, you can. Remember, that's not the hard part. That's the hard part. Once you get this, and you all will, you better get this, because numerical response, you get 0 or a big fat 1. There's no half marks on numerical response. Again, I call these kindergarten questions because usually they're asking you what's 2 plus 3, or what's 5 times 6. This one, what's 4 numbers multiplied together, and you have the calculator. Just a note, numerical responses cannot be negative. If you had a negative answer, it's wrong. Do not put it. Can't have square roots. You can't have x's in there. Worst case scenario, if your answer is -12 and you have no idea how else to do it, just put 12. At least you have a chance. Okay, I love number 9. Super start. And that's the homework. Now I need you to go to, well, you're on page 20. But go to page 20 and we'll start domain and range. Okay, new topic, domain and range. Well, first of all, we've already seen it. Domain means X, range means Y. That's important to know, and I would say not very many people make those up, so that's not a problem. So the domain is a set of all possible values of X. That's what the domain is, all the possible values of X on the graph given to you. The range is all the possible values of Y. That's what the range is. Hopefully my Y isn't turned into an X. Yes, it is. Okay, well, let's just do this of Y. So the domain is how far right and left the graph goes, because it's how far all the possible values of X, and X goes left to right, the X-axis. So this was the graph. This would be all the possible values of x. Don't worry, we'll get to this. I'm just teaching you before I teach you. The range is how far up and down the graph goes. So for example, if this was your parabola, how far up and down this graph goes, well, let's go to the top point and all the way down, because arrows mean it goes down forever. That's why we label arrows. Helps with range and domain. Okay, but before we get to that part, let's do the easier ones. And let me try something here, because it really be helpful if I need to have colors, more than one color, and this works somehow. I am proud of myself. So we're on the top of page 21, and it says find the domain and the range. Well, the domain means x. So all the x values are the domain. When you have ordered pairs, not so bad. So the domain equals all the squiggly bracket, and you don't need to write these twice. I'm just making sure everyone understands where these numbers are coming from, and I don't want to lose anybody on the first question. But we're going to rearrange these from lowest to highest. Okay, so -3 is actually going to go first, then 0 and 1 and 3 and 5. So that's the domain of 1A. And now I'm going to do the range, and unfortunately I'm running out of room, so I'm going to use a space below 1B because these are so thick. So the range are the y values of each coordinate. So 2, 5, 8, 9, and I'm glad there's another 2. If there's 2 2s, we only need to write it down once. So from lowest to highest, 2, 5, 8, 9 is the range of those guys. Okay, hopefully you understood that. The range is the y, and we just put them all the x's together for domain, all the y's together for range. Go ahead and do B for me, please. I don't think I said pause, so please pause. Okay, so domain first. I'm going to put them in order right now. 3, 0, -3, 2, and -8. So -8 is going first. Then -3, and 0, and 2, and 3. And don't get lazy. Let's count how many points we have. 1, 2, 4, 5. So we should have 5 values unless they're repeated, which none of the red ones did. The range should be 5, or they repeat. 3, 3, 3, 9, 3. Okay, so you don't need to write 3 4 times. Please do not. Write down 3 and 9. All the possible values of y of these points are 3 and 9. That's the range. All the possible values of x is the domain. Okay, number 2. Okay, number 2 we're going to do together. I'm sticking with the domain and range, domain in red. You're going to look at the x-axis for a domain. So there's a point here, -4, point here, there's a point here, there's a point here, there's a point here. All these points from -4 to 4 are the domain. Okay? And you can't go -4 dash. Nope, it's not dash because this line is not connected, and we'll get to that point, to that one in B and C. But the domain for this one, and sorry, This is just really thick, but I think it's a lot easier for you to see. That's the domain. You could write down all the points, but that would take a long time. So just pluck off the x's here. -4, -3, -3, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are all your x values. The Renga are your y values. Your y is right there. It's how high these dots go. These dots go 0 high, 1 high, 2 high, 3 high, and 4 high. And then they repeat the same height. You do not need to write them. You just need to write down 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm excited. This is fun stuff. And that's the Renga. The range, all the possible y values of this graph is that. And Merry Christmas, by the way. I just need a little brown color, but I don't have one. But wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. That's supposed to be a present. Looks like a house. Okay, well, I bought you a house. You're welcome. All right, I was just stalling to make sure you guys wrote that down. Okay, let's do B. First, we're going to write down set notation. Okay, so write it right here, set notation. And you want to talk about the best abbreviation in the world. This little guy, X line, means the set. I think I'm just going to dictate this to you. The set of all X values I lied. Such that that's what X line means. A set of all X values such that, way better than this silly abbreviation for a two-letter word. Outrageous. Okay, so you're gonna have to know how to say it. We want to be professional math students and don't just write down X line and don't know what it means. It means a set of all X values such that, and then we'll give it restrictions according to our graph. I suppose I can just leave that on there. I was going to clear it, but okay. So let's go to our domain here, and I'm working on B. Okay, so B, the domain is all the values of X such that, and remember our X is right here. So this graph goes from -4 to +4. And everything in between because it's a line. So all the fractions and decimals in between -4, -3, and all the way to between 3 and 4. We have to know how to write that in math. And so in math, the way you write down all the numbers between -4 and 4 is this. All the numbers between -4 and 4, you put an X in the middle, and less than or equal signs, such that X is an element of all real numbers. What? I gotta write all this? Yes, you do. What? Are you sure? Yes, you do. After you write it 2 times, you'll get it. Okay, it's new now. Once you we do these questions and you do your homework, it's not going to be a problem for you. Okay, so how do you say this? A set of all X values such that -4 is less than or equal to X, which is less than or equal to 4, which means all the numbers between -4 and 4, including -4 and 4, such that X is an element of all real numbers. And remember real numbers? That's why we did them. You know, all real numbers means every single number in between. Okay. Similarly, our range is going to be from here to here, from 0 to 4 and all the numbers in between. So the range is all the values of x. No, not x. Range is y. All the values of y instead of all y values such that, in other words, we're saying all the values between 0 and 4. Less than or equal, less than or equal. What do you think goes in the middle? You got it. Yo-yo. Or y is an element of all real numbers. But again, don't worry. This gets better and better. We'll do enough examples so you can show mom and dad and they can buy you a new car. Let's do C. C, the domain. I guess I'll just write down C. I don't think I have enough space for that. So the domain equals how far left and right this graph goes. And it goes far and far and far and far. It goes forever left and forever right. It goes from negative infinity to infinity. How do we say that in math? How do we say all the numbers in the whole wide world? X is an element of, good job, all real numbers. That's all you have to put for the domain here. And this is going to be a very important question to know. It's got a good variety here. And the range is your y, how far up and down your graph goes. It goes from 4 forever down. How do we say that? Instead of all y values, such that, and let's look at this green arrow. How do you say the numbers from 4 down? You say it by y is less than or equal, if it points down, it's less than or equal to 4, where y is an element of all real numbers. Just beautiful. If the graph was this way, let's pretend it was arrow up, well then it would be y is greater than the other sign and equal to 4. But it isn't. Up. Okay, there we go. You can write down, let's stick with purple. You can write down, I guess, here or on the margin, something is up. Either there's a parabola, or in this case, it would be something like that. That means greater than or equal. It's going up. It's greater than. If it's going down in a parabola or what we just saw, then you use the less than or equal sign. Feel free to use different colors for domain and range. I think it's quite helpful. Okay, more domain and range. Let's go to the next question. I'm going to domain and the range of this parabola. Okay, so domain is all the values of x such that, and even though it looks like this is going straight up eventually, it will always go a little farther left and a little farther right. Thus, if it goes on forever, it's going to hit negative infinity and positive infinity. So that's your x. That's how far left and right this graph goes. It goes forever left and forever right. Oops. Don't know what I did there. Oh, yeah. Mayday, mayday. Okay, I got it back somehow. So if it goes on forever left or forever right, that means x is an element of all real numbers. Goes on all the numbers in the wide world. But y does not. Range is all the values of y such that, and our y, how high and low does this graph go? It goes right here from -3 up, forever up. So how do I write from -3 up? Well, I ask myself, does that mean y is greater than or equal to -3 or less than or equal to -3? If it goes up, it's greater than. If it goes down, it's less than. And of course, you have to know what sign is which. So I always remembered this is the less than sign. I'm sure I had a fantastic teacher teach me this. The less than sign looks like an L, and the greater than sign does not. And I don't care how you remember it, just please get these signs right. So this is y is greater than or equal to -3, such that where y is an element of all real numbers. Let's see if you can do this domain for me. And in fact, look what I did. I said an x, but it's actually not x, it's t. So we've got to use t when they give us t. Positive t such that from -2, 1, 2, 3 to 4. I'm going to write down all the numbers between -2 and 4. Between -2 and 4, less than or equal, less than or equal, and this one's a t. Where t is an element of all real numbers. Your turn. Go ahead and try the range. I'll come back in 1 minute, 23 seconds. All the possible values of p. How high does this graph go on? How low does it go? It goes from -2 to 1. How do I write down all the numbers from -2 to 1? Now, please, I've seen some students go from 1 to -2. Okay, it's always left to right on the number line. So start with your lowest number and go to your greatest number and always put less than or equal to. Okay, so from -2 to 1, less than or equal to p, which is less than or equal to 1, where p is an element of all real numbers. Ta-da! Wonder if this moves with it. Oh, that's perfect. I don't need to. No need to clear it then. In fact, I'll leave it up there for a second. Let's do C. Nope, you do C. And we'll do D together. You have 1 minute to do C. Domain. 1, 2, 3. Akamaichu. And Naranga. 2 and 6. Now, if there was a 6, or let's say there's a 7 here and there's no arrows going to the 7, it would not be a part of the range. You have to have an arrow going to it, to something, otherwise it's not domain and range. Okay, D is one we do together for sure. I'm a little worried because I've got to draw a proper diagram somehow with these tablet markers. Okay, a circle with center of 2 to the left and 3 up. AI. 2 to the left, 3 up. First, draw a diagram. And if it says a radius of 3, that means this is 3, this is 3, this is 3, this is 3. Okay, so you can go 3 up, 3 down, 3 to the left, 3 to the right, and get a point on the circle. And that's what it's saying. It's a circle, and we can draw it. So we're going to go 3 down. So 1, 2, 3, that ends up being on 0, the x-axis. We're going to go 3 up. We're already 3 up, so we're going to go another 3 up. So that means 6 up. There's going to be a 6 here. We're going to go 3 to the right, so we're 2 to the left, so 2 to the right gives us the y-axis, and then 1 more gives us x equals 1. This is -2. And then we have 3 to the left. So if we're at -2, 3 to the left is -5. -3, 4, 5. Okay, so there's -5. And then this is a circle, so here, pardon my non-circleness, but that's what it's going to look like. So it helps to draw a diagram. You can do it without doing the diagram. If you want to add 3 and subtract 3 to both these numbers. -2 and starts at 3 up. But if we look at this circle, we're going from -5 to 1. -5 to 1 is our, what's that called? Domain. Okay, all the values of x such that all the numbers between -5 and 1, where x is an element of all real numbers. Okay. You do the range for all the y values, possible y values of this purple circle. And this is a set of all y values such that 0 is less than or equal to y, is less than or equal to 6. Okay, it goes from this point from 0 to 6 on the y-axis, 0 to 6. So that's the range of possible values of y. This whole circle's within 0 to 6. Ta-da! All right, good job. Let's just get you ready for more for grade 11. I'm just going to show you when something has one x-intercept. That means the parabola's vertex is on the x-axis. Okay, the minimum or maximum point is on the x-axis. That's when it can have one x-intercept. Two x-intercepts could be a straight line like we saw in one of our first questions, or a parabola. Okay, there's your x-intercept, there's your x-intercept. And certainly you can have no x-intercepts. Okay, this parabola will never touch the x-axis. So go ahead and write those down. Okay, you have the rest of the class to work on this homework. Just keep smiling. We're going to do, I guess, 2b. We've kind of seen it. And the domain for 2b is how far does this graph go right, forever right, and forever left. So what's the domain? All the values of x such that, how do you write down all the numbers in the wide world? X an element of all real numbers. Okay, don't forget to do the range on that one. There's some of these scales I've warned you about already. This is 1, this x-intercept is 1 to left. Sometimes that means -1, sometimes it doesn't. Careful with your scales on some of these questions. This is 2 to left, this is not -2. Look at this scale. Okay, so careful on the scales for some of them. I'm actually pretty happy I got back on the smart notebook with this. That's the next page. And you have a homework all the way to page 25. So I want you to go to page 25 because we haven't talked about this. I can't expect you to figure it out. Well, some of you would. You have open dots for the first time. Okay, so we have something like this. Open dot. That means you don't use, okay, this is 2, you don't use less than or equal to 2, because this open dot means it does not include the number 2. So instead of using less than or equal to 2, you just use less than 2 whenever you see these open dots on these questions here. Okay, there's one over here too. I'm not sure if there's more. So it's the exact same thing, except for you don't put the equal sign in your inequality. You just put less than 2 or greater than 2, whatever your number is. All right, I will be here on the Google Meet. If you have any questions, domain is how far all the possible values of x of your graph. Your x axis goes left and right, so it's how far your graph goes left to right. Left and right, sorry. Range is the opposite. The y is the vertical axis, so all the possible y values, you're looking at the vertical, the up-down part of your graph. All right, have fun. And then, once it's time to go, God bless. Have an awesome day. Ha ha ha.